Two police officers asked if they could come inside for a moment. I asked her what's wrong when she informed me that my brother was in a car accident. This was the bad dream I had before waking up. She said, "Me too." These people had creepy childhood memories, and years later, their parents confirmed they really happened. We were driving with my then 3-year-old son in the car and stopped at a red light next to a cemetery. Ooh. Out of nowhere, my son looked over at the cemetery and said, "There are people laying down there and they can't get up." My wife asked my son what he was talking about, and he pointed to the cemetery and said, "All of the people laying down in the park are stuck." My wife and I just looked at each other in silence, completely freaked out. At this point in our son's life, there had been no deaths in the family, and we had never discussed death with him. I'm still creeped out when I think about it. When I was young, I apparently had a few odd interactions with animals. I would know a person had animals before we went in the house. They tended to come over to me before my parents, mostly just little things that were probably explainable by me, a fairly observant little kid. The one that sticks out to my parents, though, telling it the way they do, is we went to a new car garage to have them work on a car. As we pull up, the owner has a big old black lab laying in the middle of the lobby. The guy informs us the dog is comfortable with people. We can pet him if we want. I shake my head and say, "He's sad though." Dad looks at me, asks why I think that. I reply, "He lost his ball. He's sad now." Ball. Dad said the owner went pale, stared at me for a minute, and then looked at Dad and said, "He's had a favorite ball for 10 years that just went down the sewage drain yesterday and I couldn't get it back out." Oh my God. Toy ball, not the other ball. I was looking for a Halloween costume with my mom to wear to elementary school, which was a big deal to me because I was homeschooled at first. There was an old Halloween costume store, one of those really weird places that somehow is open year-round, that we decided to go to as a last-ditch effort to find something. I feel like this was an episode of Goosebumps. Anyways, we got out of the car and walked through the front doors and get 3 steps into this place, and I instantly have all the hair on my body stand on end. I felt huge oppressive pressure on my whole body, like the physical feeling of being hated by something, combined with it wanting to hurt me and wanting me to leave. My little 3rd grade, I think that's when it happened, self turned to look at my mom, and in the same instant, she turned to look at me. We didn't say a thing to each other, just turned around after only walking 3 steps into the store and went back to the car. I remember getting inside and asking my mom if she felt the same thing, and she said that she had had essentially the same experience as me. We prayed together in the car and left. One time, my brother, his friend, and I saw lights in the sky that darted around like UFOs. We went to get my mom, and she was totally nonchalant about it. "Yep, those are UFOs," she said, and went back in the house. Her response was so subdued that we figured she was humoring us and they weren't actually UFOs. Years later, I asked her about it, and she said she had to force herself to act calmly because she was terrified. When I was 3 years old, my grandmother died. She lived in our house with us and we were very close. She had told my mom many times that she would do her best to make her passing easy on me since I was so young. The night that she died, my mom was laying in bed with her and heard her take her last breath. My mom laid there and cried for about 30 minutes before coming into my room to check on me. It was about 5 a.m. and there was no reason for me to be awake, but I was sitting up in my crib playing, and when my mom asked why I was awake, I said, "Grandma Flo just came in to give me a kiss goodbye." That is so nice. Not necessarily creepy, but when I was around 11 or so, my mom and I were going about 40 miles outside of town for a typical orthodontist appointment. The trip typically took about 35 minutes, give or take, a few for traffic. However, this one time I kind of zoned out while being driven, and upon arriving, we remarked, "Wow, that was fast." We were earlier for my appointment than usual, despite leaving at a consistent time for each appointment. Upon looking at our vehicle's clock and confirming with a watch my mom had on, it had mysteriously taken us only 10 minutes to drive the usual 35-minute distance. We had no recollection of anything happening during those 10 minutes, and it never happened again. but it left us with a very weird feeling. We still wonder what we drove through to this day. I was very young when this happened, so what I remember and what I was told is the main scariness for this story. We were staying at some cottage and my family came to this area pretty frequently. We were coming back from somewhere when my mother started screaming at my father for stopping abruptly. In front of us on a unkept back road in the deep woods of New England at a pretty late hour was a traffic jam of quite a few cars stopped in all directions. I remember a lot of bright headlights. I also remember seeing my dad's face as he turned around so he could see where he was reversing the car. My mom went completely silent through this whole thing. I just remember my dad saying eerily calmly, I hate traffic." He turned around and started driving back up the road. We came down and we started seeing cars going past us flashing their headlights. My dad just kept driving. The whole atmosphere went from "wasn't that a fun day" to "let's leave." Even as a kid, I went from annoying to quiet. Just a thickness in the air. Cars started coming up from behind honking and flashing lights, and eventually they just turned off the road and we drove back to the cottage. Years later, decades later, my dad and me were having a beer together. He says, "Remember up in the woods up north? We were driving around and we came to a weird traffic jam?" I was like, "Yeah, why?" I honestly hadn't thought of it since that night. My dad goes, "Well, your mother and I were pretty sure that was one of those ambushes where they block the road and try to rob you and leave you in the woods or worse. You don't remember the cars coming up the road after us trying to block us in? Or the cars chasing us and beeping at us until we hit random route?" Well, kinda, but I just figured it was traffic or people being weird. I woke up one night when I was 12 because I dreamt that my older brother got into a car accident. I got out of bed and wandered downstairs to the kitchen to get something to drink. My mother was sitting there and asking me why I was awake. I told her I had a bad dream and need something to drink. I got a glass of water when it ringed at our door. My mother went to look who is there in the middle of the night. 2 police officers that asked if they could come inside for a moment. I couldn't hear what they were talking about because I was still in the kitchen and they were in the hallway. After the 2 officers left, my mother came back to the kitchen completely pale and told me that I should go to bed now. I asked her what's wrong when she informed me that my brother was in a car accident and she needs to wake up my dad and go to the hospital now. When I pointed out that this was the bad dream I had before waking up, she only looked at me for a couple of seconds. I prepared myself for comments like, "Don't be silly and go to bed now," but instead she said, "Me too." So basically, we both had the same dream of my brother having a car accident, and we both woke up minutes before the police came over to tell us it really happened. My brother survived with some minor injuries, and we've seen the photos of the accident in the newspaper the next day. It looked 100% like in my dream, to the smallest detail. The way he lost control over the car, where it flipped the first time, and the tree it came to a stop. I have goosebumps everywhere. Even today, my mother and I talk about this. Nobody else believes us when we tell the story. Did anything like this ever happen to you as a kid? Tell me below and subscribe for more strange Reddit stories.